It is my distinct honor to introduce our commencement speaker, a leader whose career has been defined by courage, conviction, and an unwavering commitment to public service, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi. Throughout her distinguished career, Nancy Pelosi has shaped some of the most consequential moments in modern American history. As the first woman to serve as Speaker of the House, she broke barriers while advancing legislation that has impacted millions of lives, demonstrating that principled leadership and perseverance can drive meaningful change. Her legacy is not only one of historic achievement, but of steadfast advocacy for dignity, opportunity, justice, values that resonate deeply with the mission of Notre Dame de Namur University. That connection is more than philosophical, it's personal. Nancy Pelosi's educational roots are connected to the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur through Trinity Washington University, formerly known as Trinity College, where she studied. Trinity, like NDNU, was founded by the sisters and shares a common commitment to educating women and advancing social justice through faith and service. Please join me in welcoming a trailblazer, a public servant, and a leader whose life work reflects the very ideals we strive to instill in our students, the Honorable Nancy Pelosi.
Good morning, everyone. President Martin, distinguished faculty, honored guests, proud families above all, I am proud to bring the greetings of the Congress of the United States to Notre Dame de Namur class of 2026. Congratulations to you. Thank you for the privilege to share this beautiful day with you. Graduates, today is your day of triumph. This ceremony marks the culminations of years of hard work, long nights, extraordinary perseverance, determination that we've heard recognized. And you not do it alone. You strengthened by the love of your families, encouraged by your friends, and guided by your faculty, whom we've seen recognized, and your classmates. Let's give them all a round of applause. But I especially want all of us to salute your families who made this day possible. Now that requires a standing ovation for the families. Today, we support you. It is your day. Now, graduates, I stand between you and your celebration, so I promise not to be too long. However, I think there has to be a careful balance between your fun and the moment that you are enjoying now, which deserves reflection, because you are graduating into a world that is calling for your leadership, because you have lived through historic changes, has been recognized by Jennifer, a global pandemic, profound debates about democracy and justice, rapid technological change, in a world that can feel both more connected and more divided than ever before. And yet you persisted, you adapted, you supported one another, and you became a community. That is why I'm so happy to receive this invitation from President Martin, because I feel part of the community in more ways than one. When I receive a distinguished honorary degree today, it's not a surprise. They told me in advance this one. It will be my second from an institution founded by the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur. I graduated with from your sister institution, Trinity College, then called Trinity College, now Trinity University, and I won't tell you how many years ago, but I will tell you this. This college that you are graduating from was founded, has acknowledged, 175 years ago. Imagine the courage and the confidence of those nuns 175 years ago. And as I have been informed today, it was the first college in California to be authorized to give a baccalaureate degree to women. How about that? How about that? It's remarkable. Trinity College is founded later than that, so we took great pride. But a 175 on the West Coast, coming all the way. Now, as we go forward, we must do so. I just want to say something very special because Congresswoman Anna Eshoo is here with us today. And I think that it's important to note that Anna represented much of this area in the House of Representatives. And she and her daughter went to France and had the honor of visiting the birthplace of St. Julie Billard, one of the co-founders of the Sisters of Notre Dame du Namur. Thank you, Anna Eshoo, for honoring us with your presence today. Sister Julie and all of Saint Julie, now Saint Julie and all the sisters believe that education is a force for justice, a word you've heard again and again today. Now, that is your charge now. As you go forward, you must do so with hope. People ask me all the time, where is hope now? I say, I wear it on my arm. Hope sits where it always has been, right between faith in the goodness, charity of the American people, right in between there, that gives us hope. And hope is not just a virtue. Hope demands a plan. So hope is what this is about. I always say, now, it's passive, it's not passive, it's not about wishful thinking. Hope is action, and again, demands a plan. It is the courage to believe that we can make things better and to do so, to do the work to make it so. My experience at Trinity filled me with hope deeply rooted in the goodness of the American people. Charity. Our founders believed that they could establish a democracy because they believed in the goodness of the American people. Because each generation has a responsibility to build a future better than the one before, healthier planet, fairer economy, safer security, and a stronger democracy. You, graduates today, you give us hope. As America approaches the 250th anniversary of its founding, I have returned again and again to the words of Thomas Paine. Thomas Paine said at the time, he was a pamphleteer, he wrote Common Sense, and one of his sayings was, "The times have found us." The times found them to declare independence, to win a war against the greatest naval power of the time. And naval means something important. On the water, the ships that came in, the fights that were happening, on the rivers and in the ocean. Times found them to have the courage to declare independence, to fight and win the war, and to establish a plan that gave us hope, the Declaration of Independence. It, of course, was our initial call to action, but the plan was the Constitution of the United States. It wasn't perfect because it was a compromise, but it was smart enough to be amended. So over time, we have largely been expanding freedom in our country. The abolition of slavery, the black men having the right to vote, women finally having the right to vote, all the other freedoms that have been traced to the privacy and the Constitution, the precedent of the court, all making us freer. But there's some challenges now, and that's what you must be ready for. The Times found Abraham Lincoln to save our democracy, to save our union, and the times have found us now to save our democracy. America has always been a longstanding promise and an ongoing project. Decades of peace and prosperity made it tempting to believe that our democracy would be self-sustaining. In fact, it must be constantly tended to, strengthened, and defended. Democracy has been described as an horizon, something that we're always reaching for to make it better, because inevitably our ambition is for more freedom always. I'll put it another way. My dear friend John Lewis reminded us, democracy is not a state, it is an act. Each generation must do its part. So when we get out there to do our part, remember Teddy Roosevelt, he talked about being in the arena. He said, you're no longer a spectator. When you're in the arena, whether it's in the private sector, the nonprofit sector, the public sector, when you're in that arena, uh, you have to act. He said at the time, it's not the critic who counts, not the, he said, man, who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doors of deeds could have been done better. The credit belongs to those who are actually in the arena. So remember this when you go out there. That is what led me to run for Congress, to carry forth the fight that took me to Washington. Now, what people have heard me say, when you run for office, you have to know why you're doing that. Know your why. I'm encouraging to be involved in the public sector. Know your why. My why was being a mom of 5 children. I was appalled by the fact that 1 in 5 children in America goes to sleep hungry and lives in poverty. So that was my why. So when I was in the arena, and went into the arena, I said, this is my why. I have to be ready to take a punch. I have to be ready to throw a punch for the children, for the children. And democracy requires participation, it requires vigilance, it requires courage. We have seen in recent days challenges to the very foundation of our democracy, efforts to undermine truth, to suppress voices, to divide communities. Our founders, again, they believed and trusted in the goodness of the American people, and that's why they thought that democracy could thrive. They listened to the people, mobilization from the outside. We have seen assaults on the questions of separation of power, free and fair elections, independence of the judiciary, the rule of law, and due process. We cannot accept that, and I know we will not. So just as patriots launched a revolution against a king, wasn't he lovely when he was here? Yeah. His great-great-great-great-grandson of that king turned the tide in Gettysburg, stormed the beaches of Normandy, and marched across the Edmund Pettus Bridge. You too must be patriots of our time. That means not just holding on to the rights and freedoms our fellow Americans have fought for, but refusing to surrender the courageous spirit that inspired them. Whatever path you choose, whether it's in education, healthcare, business, public or military service, the arts or fields yet to be imagined, bring that sense of purpose with you. Know your why. As I said, when I went, I had to know my why because in the political arena, it's a rough and tumble place. And sometimes push comes to shove. And nonetheless, if you know your why, it's all worth it. Anna knows all of this from Congress. But more importantly, the best advice I received when I set out to run for office, which I had never intended to do, but nonetheless, be yourself. In the history of the world, from the very beginning of time, there has been no one like you. Your upbringing, your education, just what you were born with instinctively, your experiences in life, you are very, very special. No one like you. So be yourself. That's the authenticity that matters most to people. Know the power of your authenticity, the sincerity of it all. But be ready for what opportunities may come along. As I said, I never knew that I was going to run for office. I was approached to run for office, and I said, I have never had any intention to do such a thing. I'm shy person. I didn't want to be the one out there. I didn't mind promoting others, but I didn't want to be myself. And so anyway, they kept insisting that I run. Anna remembers this. They kept insisting that I run. So I went to my daughter, Alexandra. 4 of my children were in or on their way to college. 5 children, 6 years, 7 days. So 4 of them were on their way to college. And so I went to Alexandra, who was 16, on her way to senior year in high school. I said, Alexandra, Mommy, I said, has been asked to run for Congress. As you probably know, I've never even talked about such a thing. I'm shy. That's not what I would be wanting to do. But they keep asking me to do that. And I said, well, I'll check with my family. And of course, she was the only one who would be home with my husband, who was so a is a wonderful father, and I felt confident they could do well together, and said, Mommy has been asked to run for Congress, but I can't do that unless I have your permission, because I want you to, I love my life, I like being here, but if I go, I would be gone like 3 nights a week, 4 days a week when Congress is in session. I just need your permission to go or not. I don't even know if I'll win, but should I run for Congress? Mother, now you remember Mommy was running. Mother, get a life. I said, well, I had never heard that expression. This was a long time ago. What teenage girl would not want her mother out of the house 3 nights a week? Here I thought this was a happy family and all that. So I did get additional life in terms of going into Congress. And then when I was asked to run for leadership, I didn't want to do that either. And then people talked me into running. You should run for leadership. And some of the men said, now they had never had a woman in any aspect of the leadership, not even the minor stages of it. The men said, who said she could run? Poor babies. They said, why don't you, the women, just make a list of all the things they want done differently, and we'll do that for them. Poor babies. That wasn't what was going to be. They said, well, you've been breaking into the line. We have a pecking order here. I said, yeah, but you've had it for over 200 years. We're breaking into the line. So I say this to say to you, you never know what opportunity may come along for you, whether it's private sector, nonprofit, public sector, whatever it is, personal changes in your lives. Just be ready. Know yourself. Know your why, because the why makes everything, all of the negative aspects of the change worth it. Well, in those moments, as I said, be ready. Take the leap of faith, even when it's difficult, especially when it's difficult. Now, graduates, you're entering a world that can be divided politically, culturally, even emotionally. But I believe in something deeply. I believe in our ability to find unity. One of the reasons I do is because of all of you. Young people think in a different, fresh, entrepreneurial way about how to go forward, impatience with the status quo. I also believe in the arts as something that brings us together. Just think, you go with a friend, you don't know what their you may or may not know who you're sitting next to and what their political beliefs are. But for some period of time, whether it's a concert, a painting, a play, whatever it is, you have found common ground. And that's something very special to build on. So the arts and the young people just thinking in a different, new, fresh way, finding common ground would lead to unity, which is what we must value. We must value. Unity, not by ignoring our differences, but by respecting them, by listening, by building bridges, by recognizing our shared humanity, our shared humanity. I say this especially as a Catholic and coming to a Catholic university. In my family, our children have, and grandchildren, just our immediate family has probably had over 160 years of Catholic education. And so, again, that for us is about finding common ground. We don't all agree politically, but we do love our faith, and that is a source of strength to us, a source of strength to us. So by shared humanity that our faith takes us to, that faith that recognizes the goodness in others, that gives people hope. And then we laugh together. Again, I said we cry together. We find common ground. We understand each other better. We also find unity, again, in all of you. I say this again and again. Know your power. Know your why. Be yourself. Be ready. You've demonstrated this with these awards today. Marching for lives, speaking out for justice, demanding action on climate, science, science, and science, standing up against hate in all of its forms. You are already leading and now you must continue outside of school because progress is not inevitable. It must be carried, earned, protected, and advanced. I urge you again, I've said it again and again, be ready, be yourself, know your power. Carry hope with you, not as a feeling, but as a force of resilience. And remember that your success will not only be measured by what you achieve, but how you will lift others along the way. Graduates, you can go forth confident in this education that you have received. You are among the most fortunate to receive this excellent education steeped in values, to have this opportunity to stand at this moment. And with that good fortune comes responsibility to give back, to serve, to lead. Yes, the times have found us once again, but generations past have always prevailed in the challenge they had, and so will you, for our faith in the goodness of the American people again and again, and our commitment to the freedom we owe to our children is what that always gives us hope. So it is confidence. We have a lot of C words here. Confidence, courage, compassion, conviction. All of that reinforced at this great institution, And tomorrow, go forth with that courage, with purpose, with hope. We see your brilliance. We see it. Don't we all see their brilliance? We see your strength, and we see your promise for America. And we have every confidence that you will shape a better future for our country and for our world. Now, we began with the national anthem, and I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. I moved to San Francisco over 50 years ago with my husband, Paul. But being from Baltimore, I always took pride that the national anthem had this sentence in it: proof through the night that our flag was still there. Proof through the night that our flag was still there. That is what is so inspiring to us, that no matter what the challenge, we will always have proof tonight that our flag is still there, and that we pledge, as we pledge each day, with liberty and justice for all. So what you are about, it's said over and over again from this stage, about justice for all. Congratulations. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless the United States of America. Congratulations and good luck with you in your future. Thank you. And now I'm going to receive an honorary degree. So you and I will be classmates, and I take great pride in being a member of your class. Thank you so much for that honor. Thank you.
We would now like to recognize Nancy Pelosi with an honorary degree. Nancy, in recognition of a lifetime of distinguished service, academic excellence, and unwavering commitment to social justice, and by the virtue of the charter first granted by the state of California and by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Notre Dame de Namur University, I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining to. Here we go.
We're classmates.